Hey, White Sox fans, Brett Ballantini here, lucky enough to host yet another Side Sox Mothership podcast, proving I have not much going on in my life. It's a Friday night, and I chose to host a podcast about the Chicago White Sox. Now, we'll see if my two guests can somehow acquit themselves better than me. Joining me on this podcast to talk Cubs weekend, state of the White Sox at 500 is stalwart, mainstay, artist, t-shirt guy, writer, Adrian Serrano. First time podcast. He's on the injured list, but he's feeling good. He's ready to come back strong. It's Dante Jones. And joining us now as well, Delia Ritchie, and perhaps Wonder Dog Buck, I believe is her dog. We'll see. She's joining us here in a second. Just four of us, probably no reason to go around and associate voices with faces and names, but White Sox 500, when we did a podcast at the start of the month, looking at what was going to be a pretty rough May, I think we probably agreed the White Sox would be lucky to end the month somewhere around 500. It was going to be pretty rare or pretty lucky if they were going to break out and really make a strong push toward first place with this May schedule. So it does look like they're going to end, who knows, at best, they're going to end May a couple games better than 500. We'll see how gentle the Cubs will be with the White Sox on the South Side this weekend. But the White Sox have been struggling. Hitters can't hit. Pitchers now starting to stumble a little bit. So I guess let's just first talk about, and Adrian, we'll kick it off with you. Just state of the Sox. How you feeling about the team? We're just past a quarter of the season, so it's no longer early. Time's starting to tick. Where are you at with the team? How you feeling?
I think at this point you're just kind of getting numb to it. Like, they are probably not as bad as, the run differential shows, but like, even with the injuries to Eloy and Robert's been up and down, like, to see them 25th in the league in runs scored at this point is kind of, eye-opening still. The pitching's been great, better than expected, honestly, for, all the holes that we knew they were going to have, and they've had some injuries there too. But you just feel like eventually some of that pitching will come down to earth a little bit, more. Michael Kopech especially has been like just unbelievable. Definitely, though, you look a little deeper and he's been on the good end of the new squishy balls of the league, why his xFIP is quite a bit, almost double of what his actual FIP is. So like, some of those balls would probably have gone out of the park last year, but he's still been very good. So I mean, there's going to be some regression. I don't think Cueto and some of these other guys are going to keep up what they've been doing either. So there's a lot to be positive for, but there's still some kind of like, hesitancy. So like, I'm hoping for the best, but this is going to be a rough go, I think.
And you look at the fact that, the pitching war, at least for the team, driving the pitching being so good, really is Michael Kopech. I mean, you take Michael Kopech out of it, and the rest of the pitchers, I mean, it's not necessarily an even split, but the rest of the pitchers are essentially what the offense has done. Giolito in sort of a partial season has been good. You take those two guys out, and it's a mess. So I mean, we can't get too high on what the pitching's been doing either. Dante, first of all, welcome to the Southside Sox Mothership Podcast. Great to have you around, readers.
Thank you.
Viewers, listeners. You've caught a couple of Dante's pieces so far, but this is the first podcast he's weighing in on. And I guess same question, Dante, sort of where are you at, checking in, gut check with the White Sox here, 22-22, I believe, 500, not where we wanted them to be, but negatives, positives.
Well, they seem like sometimes they feel like they're world beaters, like beating the Yankees twice in one day. Sometimes they make you want to rip your hair out because they lose 16-7 to the Red Sox. The team, like, pitching has to be consistent. We all know Keuchel isn't going to give us consistent, decent outings. I would appreciate decent. He's going to give you bad, typically. He is not 2017 Dallas Keuchel. Hell, he's not 2020 Dallas Keuchel.
No. Delia, gut check. Where are you at in terms of the ball club? How you feeling? I mean, we all know, well, Adrian may want to weigh in on Dallas Keuchel because he was predicted like 12 wins or whatever, but I don't think he's going to be that, that crazy. But Delia, how you feeling? 500. What's going on?
I mean, I was pretty down about last night's Keuchel start. I was actually having a great time at my cousin's little t-ball game. Go Bridgeport White Sox. They're great. And I talked to my cousin and we're about to leave. And it's a very big Irish goodbye. And he goes, Keuchel just gave up 3 runs. And my mom's like, seriously? I just started the game. And I'm like, par for the course. So the inconsistent consistency in how we can evaluate the runs and how we can't get a run, but we can, but we also can't. It's beyond frustrating. And I think there needs to be a message sent organizational wise to be like, if we're not going to win, what's the point? Buck's weighing in on this too. So
I don't know. All right. I was hoping we were going to get some Buck. Delia, tell me this. I don't know if you were keeping score at the T-ball game or if you were doing any pitch scoping, any diagramming. I'm guessing that the T probably had better stuff last night than Dallas Keuchel on the mound. Is that just your gut call?
Well, ironically enough, they're playing the Red Sox. So I thought it's going to be a pretty accurate statement. My cousin scored a couple runs. He was great. But it was just hilarious going oh God, this T-ball pitcher has it out for everyone. So yeah.
But Buck's about to get angry. He's about to break over the kettle, whoop ass. Dallas guy. Yeah, he's coming in hot. Okay, Adrian, you have pointed out countless different times, I believe even maybe last night, that, obviously Dallas Keuchel is an easy target and he makes himself that target. And I think you'll acknowledge that. But it's really, it isn't as simple as Dallas Keuchel failing this team. There are culprits. Care to spread a little blame around?
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, honestly, I'm the most bullish on Dallas Keuchel, and I didn't think Dallas Keuchel was going to be good this year.
Right.
I thought they were going to score runs for him, and he was going to have an ERA in the 5s, and that was going to be okay. He's ERA's in the 7s, so he's even outpacing what I thought was a decent prediction for him. But the offense if the offense is scoring 3 runs a game, it's not. I don't care who's out there; they're going to have a tough time winning. Every night in and out. But yeah, Dallas. I think it's kind of at the point, what do you want him to say? He's a guy with a Cy Young. You want him to go out there and say yep, I'm washed. Guys don't ever say that they're washed. He would have retired if he felt that way. So he's going to go out there and, the Sox don't hit soft tossing lefties very well. So I hope we don't see him in any kind of play-in game coming up.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I don't know you're right, what to expect him to say, but he manages still to say it. He really thinks that contract talks for him. And I guess in a sense it does, because it's hard to imagine that they're going to just get rid of him.
Yeah, I wish the beat writers went half as in-depth and hard on Tony and Rick Hahn as they do on Dallas Keuchel, because Dallas Keuchel's getting some pointed questions, and good on him. He's sitting there in it. He doesn't have to sit there for 8 to 10 minutes talking to these guys about how bad he was. But they're really asking some well-framed and detailed questions that I wish we could get asked to some people that don't give us any information about what's going on in the organization.
Let me throw it out there. A 500 team, a team we didn't expect to be 500, expected to be in first place, not looking up, 4.5 games behind a Minnesota Twins team that is really acting like 2021 was just a crazy Northern Lights nightmare, and going to be a tough team to contend with. Thankfully, White Sox still have plenty of games against the Twins to do something about that and have a say in the race. But thank goodness, given this dismal season, Michael Kopech, we addressed very briefly, side a real bright light. Unfortunately, at this pace, he's going to be shelved in July, given what will probably be an innings and a pitch. I know they're going to massage it, so of course he's not going to sit for July for the rest of the season, but he's certainly not going to pitch 32 starts, get 200 whatever innings, and then be strong for the playoffs as well. They're going to have to continue I don't know how many different more, well, I won't even make the paternity leave comment, but anyway, he's only going to be able to sit, so often for legitimate reasons. He's going to have to take a breather if they're going to manage him at all. On the other hand, on the hitting side, there hasn't been a lot to be excited about, but obviously, and we're going to play off of Zach Hayes's article on site today. If you haven't read it, you really need to read it because it's an absolutely fascinating study about what the guy's doing. He continues to, I won't say reinvent, but continues just to add to the invention of himself. He's a guy who continues to grow. He is the probably lone offensive bright spot a quarter into the season. He's a guy who's a leader. He's a motor mouth, so he gets in opposition's heads. He's obviously had to deal with tons of stuff as we addressed in last week's podcast. He's a guy who is he's really everything you'd want a hero on your team to be. And thank goodness we have him. Thoughts really on what Tim Anderson has done this year and really what has almost been, just for a quarter of the season, a heroic effort carrying this offense.
Well, if no one's going to speak, I'll speak first. A while back, people was talking about BABIP this, BABIP that for Tim Anderson. After, 3-4 seasons of doing the exact same thing every single year, it's not BABIP, it's not luck. No. He's good, it's skill. And Tim Anderson is playing like the best shortstop in baseball right now. And, we've gotten the luxury of seeing him grow from a dude that barely knew how to play baseball into, again, one of the best shortstops in the game. So it's just been a beautiful thing to see. I love the culture he brings to the team, just everything. I was just listening before this to his interview with Ballantini Jones, and he's just such a figure for Chicagoans, North and South Side. I've learned to love. Everyone in the city loves Tim Anderson. We saw the recent baseball needs more Tim Anderson's digital billboard that they put out, and it's true. We need more people, as he said, changing the game. Trying to make things better for a sport that for people that look like him and me isn't growing in our communities anymore. It's dropping. We went from people playing baseball every single day, every week during the summer. Yep. I go around the city. Around South Side, see nothing. Yep. Go to the North Side. We drove past and it was 8 different games going on. Mm-hmm. So we need someone like Tim Anderson. Baseball needs these guys that are both superstar level athletes and superstar level people.
And let's not forget that for all the furor Josh Donaldson created last weekend in his referencing Tim Anderson, associating himself with Jack Robinson, the point of that comparison, the point of that article was in Tim Anderson addressing exactly what you just acknowledged, Dante, and that is the fact that we need participation among Black Americans in this game. And I believe that was the connection he was making. It had nothing to do with what Josh Donaldson was getting at, but we all know that. But if you read the article, it's very clear that that's what this is about. And that's why Tim Anderson feels he stands alone, because let's face it, it's fewer than 10% Black players in the game. He does stand out. He does stand alone in many situations. I'm sure there have been times on this White Sox roster in his career, he has been the only Black player. That's alarming. And I think that's what we're getting at. Anyway, I just want to touch on that, given that you're literally referencing that now, Dante. Adrian, Delia, Buck, thoughts on what Tim has meant, because he's just been extraordinary this year.
Well, my cousin, I'm going to totally credit him with saying this, grew up a White Sox fan. He goes, "It's your favorite shortstop. And I could leave it at that, but my love for Tim Anderson, it's so much more than the love it's a lot of love that I have for Big Hurt, but it's that level, but more intense and more just, he is so awesome for our city. And I'm so grateful he's on our team, because it's so easy to root for someone. I haven't given the TA7 documentary a shot yet, but once I do, I will probably have more love for Tim Anderson and what he's been through, because we only see we only see the persona, and that's an incredible persona. And we see the person getting scrutinized, and that should never be a part of the game, but it is, unfortunately, due to players like Josh Donaldson.
Right. More laurels, Adrian?
I mean, I think all you really need to say about Tim Anderson is to talk about how everybody on the team and in the organization absolutely stood up behind him, following the event on Saturday. That's what a leader, and that's what the center of a team looks like. Like, they looked at Tim as a role model in much more than just baseball. I think just the way he goes about his life, I think, is contagious for some of those players. And of the guys that, are supposed to be the big hitters and the all-stars and the MVP candidates on the team with the expectations on their shoulders. Like, he's the guy that from jump didn't make excuses about the cold or whatever else, like, he showed up, from get-go. His defense has not been great, but he's been the first to say, like, that's not acceptable to him either. It happens. I think this is the first year you come in as not the scrappy underdog chasing. You're the guy everybody else is chasing. So maybe, it plays into how you think you don't have to work as hard, or you don't want to burn yourself out too soon, but then you end up like losing focus for a couple of weeks. And I think since, that like 2 or 3 week period, like, it's gotten a lot better defensively from him. So I think he's kind of realizing I got to still focus on it a little more than I wanted to coming in. But other than that, this year, it's hard to find anything bad to say about him.
Yeah. A couple things to transition into the break. First, again, because Dante referenced it, the Ballantini Jones show, and the appearances are such a demand for Tim. Something I like about him is he's still very soft-spoken when it comes to talking about himself. He actually does seem to be a fairly soft-spoken guy, does seem to be his nature. But boy, when he gets on that field, and this tells you how very, very, very intelligent a player he is, because his nature is one thing, and it's there's humility, there's intelligence conveyed in that way. But then he's on that field and he knows how to get into players' heads. He knows how to get his own team motivated. He's got these it's not quite Jekyll and Hyde, but he's got these two personas, and he knows how to play them so well. We very, very much underrate the intelligence he brings to the field. And again, as we transition to the break, because we're going to talk in the second half about this coming Crosstown series with the Cubs. Every year, Al Yellen over at Bleed Cubby Blue, our sister site, I guess, on SB Nation for the Cubs, asked me to write a little preview of series. And so I've been very generous in that way. Usually pretty entertained with what I write, because let's face it, most of the years that I've done it, the White Sox have been really horrible looking up at the Cubs. And so it usually talks about, something having not to do with baseball, right? Well, the one thing I said, I think I ended in the little essay. You can read it if you actually ever dare to go over to a Cubs site. You can read it. It'll be on when this podcast is up. That really Tim Anderson is, I wouldn't ask this of many Cubs fans, because I know the rivalry is heated and there's never been many Cubs players that I've really been terribly fond of. But Tim Anderson is a guy that even Cubs fans really, really should admire and enjoy. And I think probably in many cases, I would like to think in most cases, that is probably true of the Cubs fan base, especially as they're in this transition and they can't quite compete with the White Sox. In theory, the standings might say otherwise. Hey, but let's talk about that in a second. We're going to take a minute break. We'll come back for the second half, the last half of this show, where we address the weekend series with the Cubs. Hang with us. Hey, White Sox fans, podcast number 103. I've got Adrian, Serrano, Delia Ritchie, and first timer. But number one in my heart, it's Dante Jones with us on this podcast. We've addressed the White Sox season to date. And boy, if you're not deflated, hey, I guess you're back. You weren't deflated enough not to want to listen anymore. And hey, we got the Cubs on the schedule this weekend. First of all, first game tonight, and then of course Sunday. It's a quick sort of in and out, very weird situation with the way the schedule's fallen, but 2 weekend games against the Cubs. Hey, what are the White Sox playing for? They've already clinched the Crosstown Cup, or whatever they call it now. So, geez, let's just hope they can still put their heart into it, because they've already clinched that by winning 2 against the Cubs and winning year after year after year after year. Check your history. City Series, Crosstown Classic, Busch Classic, whatever thing was called. White Sox have, under all circumstances, beaten the tar out of the Cubs over the years, going back to 1900. So we expect more of the same this weekend. However, both teams are coming off of bizarre games. White Sox had this strange series where there were 2 16-run outbursts by Boston in game 1 and the finale of the series. And the Cubs provided the lowly Cincinnati Reds, I believe, more than 10% of their season runs in one 20-run outburst just this Thursday. So Cubs aren't coming in on a high note either. Thoughts on what the White Sox need to do besides just win 2 games this weekend and sweep a rare sweep of a Crosstown series. Do we see that happening? Are the White Sox going to be able to maybe find some momentum against the Cubs? They sort of kick-started a little run earlier in May. Can they do the same thing here this weekend?
I think it's definitely possible, but what they have done poorly to this point, that's kind of got them 4.5 games back, is they haven't beat the teams that are under 500, and they've played a lot of them. They just lost 2 of 3 to 1. Like you come off the Yankee series feeling good, thinking it's going to be one of those things that brings everybody together and turns kind of the focus around, and that lasted for about 37 hours, and then
a couple idiots.
16 runs later, and then now you just gave up series to a team under 500. So it's like you can't be both things. The Cubs are a last place team, but they've also scored 30 runs more than the White Sox have this year. So on any given day, you still got to go out there. They got some young guys going that the Sox haven't seen a lot, so that's always scary for me. But yeah, they have some good young pitching, and they on paper should be dominated by the White Sox, but we've seen strange things happen in this.
Yeah, the series never really plays by the book and on paper, so that is scary for the White Sox coming in favored. Dante, Delia, thoughts on this weekend?
Okay, I'll go. I feel that we have to beat the Cubs by at least 5 to 10 runs in both games. Simply just send a message that one, we rule Chicago as we have for the last 122 years. And 2, and more importantly, you need those types of outings to spark a team.
Yeah.
It's like when, say, the Bulls went on the 9-game winning streak earlier this season. You need it, because when you get things like that going, your energy just changes in the locker room. The energy changes around the entire team. You start walking a little bit. You start, you got a little hype in your step. You got a little pep. So you're a little more excited, and the happier you are, the better you'll do at your job.
I like where you're going with this, Dante. You are basically saying, let's make up the entire run differential for the season in this week. And White Sox right now are negative 42 run differential, projects to a horrible 60s win season. Let's just make it up in one weekend. I'm down with that. And humiliating the Cubs is just, that's just a bonus.
I pointed it out yesterday that the Cincinnati Reds are really bad and trying to lose, and the worst team in baseball by wins, and they scored 20 runs, and man, I cannot even bring I'm trying to imagine how it would happen, and I can't see this White Sox lineup as currently constructed scoring 20 runs in a game. Against the Cubs.
How bad did it suck that the Cubs gave up 20 runs, left 20-5, whatever it was, to the Cincinnati Reds, and we couldn't really even make fun of them because we were too busy giving up 16 runs and losing their series to Boston. Man, I tell you, that is an opportunity lost. Thanks, White Sox. You're gutting your fan base going into this big weekend. Crosstown. Delia, what's happening with this weekend?
I just hope we win both games, but I also am realist about things. So I feel like it could be a opposite, expecting the Cubs scored 20, the Cubs lost by how many runs to the Reds, and the White Sox got their butts handed to them by the Red Sox. So I hope they win. I don't know if they will. I'm kind of in between, but I think, I kind of do want. I don't even care about this rivalry. It's not really. I care more about the Central Division rivalries, but just to see them lose would be awesome, because then you won't have people oh, your attendance sucks, and I'm like, buddy, I paid $20 for a margarita. That's insane.
Maybe a corollary on what Dante said. If the White Sox can score more runs, then there will be fights in both of these games. I believe both night games. Well, certainly at least Saturday's a night game. The White Sox are in good shape if they can manage that. But if stranger things have happened in this series. Okay, Delia, I was going to go a different direction with this, but you sort of touched on the rivalry. We've had some people who are very, very adamant that they don't care about the Cubs. They don't care about beating the Cubs, at least compared to, say, the AL Central, because that's where it really counts. I'm not sure where I stand on that. I will say personally, I still like to kick the tar out of the Cubs. They're still a rival. Wins are wins. I just want to put wins on the board. And, it's not like I want to lose to Cleveland, but I want to put the Cubs in their place, which is somewhere far, far below the White Sox. Delia, we know where you stand on it, that you certainly skew a little bit more toward AL Central. Adrian, Dante, where do you feel? Yes.
The only reason I am so over the rivalry is because of the fights and stuff, the stuff that the ruckus has caused.
Sure.
But also they don't have any more, they don't have faces that I dislike anymore. I could honestly
give them time.
I could honestly tell you the only face I genuinely can't stand is Patrick Wisdom. That guy, I don't know what it is, but that's the one. And then, they got rid of any player that I could have been yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Delia claims they do not have enough. They do not have enough punchable faces. Adrian, Dante, where you stand on the rivalries and how they measure up?
I don't really care much for this rivalry. I kind of go hierarchy of how do you play against, other playoff teams that you expect to be playoff teams. And then I jump to under 500 teams because you just have to win those games. So I watch those games and care more about that. You obviously have to win in your division, but usually they're going to fall into those two categories in anyway. The Cubs honestly have a couple guys that I think are pretty interesting to watch. So I don't mind them so much as there's nobody on the team to hate, going back to the punchable face. So why you're going to spend time hating them, so there's a guy, Seiya Suzuki that I actually do like watching, play baseball. So, but yeah, I had tickets for tomorrow. The going rates were very positive in my direction as a consumer. So I went ahead and moved those on to somebody that wants to deal with all of that cross-side thing.
Sure.
But I don't really, I'm only concerned about them as a under 500 team that the White Sox should be.
Okay, Dante, let's measure your Cubs hate, or are you going to just take the new age route like my other two guests here tonight?
I mean, I hate the Cubs as many times as we played them a season. I grew
right.
up with a Cubs fan father, so it's weird. As long as I could bully him about the Cubs, we're good. The Cubs can win every single other game. Go win a World Series. I don't hate the Cubs nowhere near as much as a Bears fan. I hate the Packers. The Packers on the Packers. I want the Packers to be miserable. I want somebody to just go to the house, put salt in their sugar, just little minor inconveniences with the Packers.
That is the bar.
Serrano.
Yeah, that's the bar right there. Exactly. Because I have that same feel. I don't want the players on the Packers or the fans of the Packers to have good days. I want, them to just but I can't get to that. I can't get to that level with the Cubs. I just don't care that much about it, so it can't be a rivalry if you don't hate them that much.
Well, I guess, hey, listen, same division is one thing. And there's always been talk about realignment. Oh, the Cubs can't be in the same division as the White Sox. I'd love it personally, but, that would be a big difference. Sure, Adrian, I can see where you come from. Dante, you're talking my language. I love it. And, I my condolences of having to be raised into baseball by a Cubs fan father, but I'm with you. If you could just tease the hell out of him. Yes. That is a win.
Shout out to the 2003 Cubs, Marlins, NLCS. That made me a White Sox fan because I'm 7 years old. I'm trying to decide, do I want the blue or do I want the black? Mm-hmm. Steve Boardman is a saint for me because the White Sox might piss me off. But there's nothing that Jerry Reinsdorf has done that's made me hate him nearly as much as I hate the Cubs. Yeah. Nearly as much as I hate the Ricketts. Yeah. It's just again, as Adrian said, and Delia said, divisional games, yeah, more important. Obviously, but just beating the Cubs just puts a warm feeling in my soul.
It does. You sleep soundly on nights after a Cubs loss to the White Sox. You just sleep better, no doubt. Yeah, go ahead, Delia.
I will add that I also can't stand the Ricketts either. So I'm fully on, that's where my hatred goes, I guess.
Yeah. Fair.
I guess you got to say, all right, if it's a real rivalry, if they're playing the Twins, who are you rooting for? Cubs Twins. Like,
That's
what
true.
side are you
That's
on?
a test.
And I
That's
would like
true.
the Cubs to put up 20 runs on the Twins every day of the week if possible. Like,
yeah, I think I always root for like the 20 inning games, 2-1. Yeah, I mean, now these days with run different, all the time, whatever the tiebreakers are. I mean, who knows now? But yeah, I just want both teams to just sort of kill themselves. And then whoever wins, who cares? Yeah, that's the old like Packers versus Cowboys type of question. Sure. I will say to Dante's point, before at some point during that Marlins series, I got a call from a couple coworkers, rabid Cub fans, and they were taunting me. They left a message on my work phone or whatever. Well, they're about to go to the World Series. We're just here having some beers. We're so happy. And oh, believe me, I kept that message. I still have that message somewhere. But hey, I guess eventually they won. So it takes some of the stigma off. But they are the team you love to hate, even when they are a bunch of no names, even when the punchable faces have left town and went away in the fire sale. And there's no more no look tags. And there's no more bizarre Andrew Rizzo illegal slides into home plate that are, excused away by Joe Madden. There's going to take a little time to feist up the rivalry again, because we don't even know who these guys are. So Nick Madrigal and like some other guy, the catcher, there's like 5 guys that I could probably even name right now. I think I could only name one under pressure right now. So it'll take some time, but meanwhile, while we're still trying to figure out their names and fill out our scorecard, maybe we can just bury them deep with a 4-game sweep, which is pretty rare. And next year is going to be 6, and next year it's going to be less special because we're going to be playing every NL team the same amount of times, and every series is going to be home and home, 6 games against the NL. It's getting very NFL, which I'm sure is what Rob Manfred wants.
I will 100% be rooting against Nick Madrigal though.
Poor Nick. Woo! We turned on him, but listen,
yes,
all right. Well, then let's wind this up with predictions for the weekend. Then again, I'll start up with you, Adrian. What's it going to be? 2-zip Sox, 2-zip Cubs, split.
They got the righty and the lefty. They lose to the righty. Wade Miley is very good, and could honestly shut them out, but I think they get one of the two, so 1-1.
Dante, what's your feeling? And no matter what, you get to taunt your dad because the Crosstown Cup is the White Sox again.
My dad's 60-something. He don't care about Crosstown Cup. But I will say 1-1. Like, I don't trust the White Sox to win any series outright. Don't trust them right now.
Just mistrust.
And maybe when Lance gets back and we can put Dallas in the bullpen, because they're not going to DFA him as much as we might think he should. They're not going to. Also, as Adrian said, he's not the one we need to blame most for this. We need to go ahead and blame, Rick Hahn, Ken Williams, as much as I love him, LaRussa. Blame those guys. But, I mean, Kopech, C. Is it Kopech, C? Oh, no, we got Cueto and Cease. Okay. So, Cueto, he's going to lose. Cease is going to throw a gem.
Okay. Delia, got to be real quick. We're running out of time, but where are you at?
I think Sox. I think it's split.
Oh man, 3 splits. Listen, I'm going to be confident. And everybody says I'm the negative one. I say the White Sox are going to do it and make it 4 this season. Somehow they're going to do it. Somehow, some way. Maybe the games will be close. Maybe they won't be. But we'll see how those predictions play out. Boy, let's just hope it isn't an 0-2, because that is really going to gut us. We are going to have or whether we call it a post game or not, we will definitely be doing a Sunday podcast reacting to the Crosstown series and going into an off day and another tough week with the Toronto Blue Jays going up to Toronto, playing the Blue Jays. Got to just keep digging to try to catch the Twins, get closer. It doesn't get any easier for the White Sox. Second half, I guess, is going to be an easier schedule, but not anytime real soon. Well, thank you, Adrian Serrano, Delia Ritchie, Buck, and first-timer Dante Jones on the IL, but recovering rapidly. Thank you for hopping in with this. Talking Cubs, talking White Sox, not getting too depressed. Hey, listen, it wasn't so bad. We laughed pretty well. And, best your dad, Dante. I hope he suffers this weekend. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening, reading, sometimes watching. Without you, we're not here. So stay tuned. We'll have another one coming up on Sunday. Hopefully very, very happy. Much, much more laughing after the White Sox do to the Cubs what the White Sox were born to do to the Cubs.